What if I told you that everything you think you know about Janelle Brown during the last 3 years isn't the whole truth? Not a flat-out lie, precisely, but a truth with a disguise. The woman we saw living in an RV on Coyote Pass, as a victim of circumstance, quite possibly was not a victim. What if she was covertly executing a well-planned financial exit, a self-created heist? We thought we were seeing her being pushed to the sidelines, but perhaps she was secretly plotting her master escape step by step. This wasn't a break with Cody, this was a plan of action for freedom, written under everyone's noses. She wasn't walking out empty-handed. She was cashing in, amassing assets, and playing offense for a life of her own creation. And the twist, this isn't your average divorce story. This is the story of a woman plotting her own prison break. So if you're willing to examine beyond the surface of this story on TLC and find the scheme that's been right in front of you, then stick around right here. Because what you're about to learn will change forever how you're going to look at this whole drama. Now let's start at the source, the system Janelle was trying to escape. On the surface, her marriage to Cody seemed to be a relationship that was collapsing. Behind closed doors, though, it was something else, a bank in disguise as a family. At the core of it all was the Cody Brown Family Entertainment LLC, the corporate shell that was the family vault. Money poured in from all sides, the business, Mary's Band B, Christina's MLM fortune, Janelle's ventures, etc. And who did it all end up with? That's the million-dollar question. No statements, no responsibility. The keys were in the hands of Cody and Robin, and the rest of the wives were not so much partners but working-class subjects in a kingdom where the king and queen profited. Every dollar Janelle earned went into that fund, and the minute it was there, it was spent. It was spent on Coyote Pass land that they could not build on debts they did not owe, and on $1 million home that she didn't even own. All while they are being told that there was not enough to start her own building. Fair? That is not fair. And it was here that things went dark. By 2020, according to insider reports, that LLC was near insolvency. Various lines of credit had been taken out against family assets to finance Robin's home and keep the Coyote Pass fantasy, a fantasy becoming a money pit, while servicing borrowed funds. That is, the family wasn't sitting on equity. It was debt disguised as security. But remember, Janelle is no ordinary wife. She's the bookkeeper. She's logical, she's mathematical, she's shrewd. If anyone caught the warning signs, it was her. She would have realized before the cameras even picked up on it that the LLC was not a life preserver, it was an anchor. And anchors don't save you. They pull you down. What does someone like Janelle do? She doesn't merely bounce. She performs a strategic exit. She wasn't just leaving Cody, she was trying a hostile takeover of her own life. And that's where the genius shows up. Let's discuss the legendary RV. TLC presented us with a tragic tale, Janelle trapped in a small trailer once the rental was sold, Cody not cooperating, kids having trouble with the confining situation. On television, it seemed like desperation. But what if that were merely the cover story? And here's the kicker, the RV was not a failure. It was a strategy. It was her Trojan horse, rolling into Coyote Pass in a gesture of defeat but really being the go to victory. Why? Because every successful financial exit begins with 2 steps, selling assets and slashing overhead. Step 1, liquidation. Janelle sold her Flagstaff home. Public records show the sale closed for a significant profit, bringing her and her hundreds of thousands of dollars cold that weren't funneled into the family's LLC, money Cody and Robin couldn't get their hands on. This was her war chest. Finally, she had a fund that Cody and Robin couldn't touch. Step 2, save money. Instead of buying a second pricey home or embarking on Flagstaff renting, she spent her one-time fortune, the RV. Do the arithmetic. A fifth wheel her size could cost her $100,000. If she made a sale of her home for well over $600,000, she had about $500,000 in liquid assets to spare. Compare prices today, it would cost easily $3,500 to $4,000 per month to mortgage or lease a home in Flagstaff, utilities paid. The RV life? Roughly $1,200 to $1,300 per month, everything paid. That's more than $3,000 per month saved, money that she could still continue to accumulate while the family LLC sat dormant under its debt. And here is the twist, what appeared to be rock bottom on TV could have been her launch pad. While the entire world was sympathizing with her, she was quietly building freedom, inch by inch, buck by buck. So the real question is, was it coincidence or was it Janelle's clever plan all along? Hang on, because the longer we are here, the better all the pieces fit. By living in the RV, Janelle wasn't just cutting expenses, she was creating financial momentum. That little place was saving her nearly $3,200 a month, nearly $40,000 a year, which she could deposit straight into her own war chest. The RV wasn't a home, it was a rolling bank vault, a money machine that ingested dollars and regurgitated them as savings. Every day she lived there, her independence grew, quietly but geometrically. And then the stroke of genius, she left it on Coyote Pass. It was a giveaway, an act of poverty on the surface. But strategically, genius. She eliminated land costs, lived rent-free on land she owned half of, and accumulated most of her savings. It was also at the same time a visual reminder to Cody of his inability to take care of her. Each time he looked at that RV, it made him feel a sense of failure and put him under psychological pressure, persistent, unobtrusive, and immense. Meanwhile, she played victim on videotape. Viewers of TLC saw a working mom struggling. In real life, she was quietly strengthening her financial hand in the background. The RV phase was not Janelle's lowest point. It was the most critical phase of her freedom game plan. She traded comfort for capital, luxury for liquidity, not because she needed to, but by choice. Now let's get past what we've learned and get to the backroom gossip, the secrets that TLC, Cody, and Robin prayed nobody would link. These are Flagstaff whispers, our own exclusive research. Theory 1, the Coyote Pass hostage situation. According to insiders, Janelle's possession of Coyote Pass was a tremendous source of contention long before the RV ever arrived. The land was subdivided into lots in different names, one of the most desired lots falling in Janelle's name. When she was finally prepared to start construction, she encountered a financial problem. The family LLC, which was supposedly formed to fund infrastructure, was vacant. Cody and Robin tried to bully her into giving up control, by putting her property in the LLC or taking a commingled loan, dragging her finances once more into the failing family bank, court documents allege. Cody's advantage was cunning. By delaying the court division of property, he was effectively paralyzing her investment. Property in undivided ownership is far more difficult to develop or market, so it was an economic hostage situation. But Janelle's RV deployment was her countermobilization. She was not trapped, she was occupying, living on the property while trimming overhead, turning his trap into her fortress. Theory 2, the sister-wife pact. The wives were divided openly, but rumor has it there was a secret pact in the works. Janelle and Christine allegedly solidified their bond in the pre-exit years, not only emotionally, but strategically as well. They allegedly shared off-camera fiscal planning as early as 2019, having witnessed family wealth pool around Robin and their futures in danger. They quietly siphoned money out of the family LLC, forming their own financial buffers. Christina's MLM profits and Janelle's Plexus profits may have been shielded from the shared pool. They shared advisors, coordinated strategy, and used their public images to bolster an orchestrated exit. Christine tested the system initially, exiting as a trailblazer, while Janelle took close note of the landscape, setting a more financially conservative exit. They were not simply leaving, they were conducting a planned liberation. Theory 3, the Vegas trump card. The most risky theory involves the establishment, via law, of the family business in Las Vegas. In moving out of Utah, the family legalized their operations through lawful documents and legally binding financial agreements. Sources indicate that Janelle, in her business acumen, had placed certain conditions upon those agreements, conditions which Cody allegedly disregarded. This Vegas wild card, in this sense, would qualify her for a share of the intellectual property and family name value with respect to her role as an original wife. While Cody may think he's got it all, the legal foundations she laid low years ago may ultimately be her ace in the hole, the key to financial independence, yes, but also to significant domination of the very empire in which she found herself imprisoned. Before, the reward had been economic. Now, it's so much more. Sources report that Janelle may have legal influence when it comes to the earnings of the show itself, the Sister Wives franchise and its back-end revenue. If so, this is not just a matter of divorcing, this is a matter of one of the co-founders divesting her stake, which could trigger audits or force financial disclosures that would flip everything around. This could explain Cody's apparent rage and panic. He's not just losing a wife, he's losing hold of the empire he created. Whereas Janelle is calm, cool, and collected. Why? She's holding a royal flush in this hand. She's not begging for alms, she's negotiating as co-founding partner, leveraging her equity to support her claim. Whereas all the other individuals are upset, she's one step ahead, playing chess while they play checkers. This is not, though, a story about money. There is a battle behind every act of revolution, and Janelle's was no different. Her own brain had been a courtroom for years, argued against the norms by the possibility of freedom. Duty and fear presented a strong case on one side, muttering promises of duty, shame, ostracism from society, and the risks of leaving behind, reminders of a lifetime of being indoctrinated in plural marriage, religion, and family obligation. Stay. Hold your family safe. Don't jeopardize your stability. The world out there is unsafe. Yet in the other corner, the defense rose, freedom, self-worth, and evidence. The argument was clear, you've given loyalty, but the system has failed you. Your financial contributions feed a dream that excludes you. Your children deserve better. The threat isn't going, it's waiting. The RV was at the heart of this defense, proof that a simpler, independent lifestyle wasn't only possible but freeing. She was already in the predicament they described to her, now she was in control. The jury's final determination didn't come from lawyers but from witnesses who'd lived through the system themselves, her children. Gabriel Brown's testimony, heard in confessionals and on-camera footage, was devastating. He had talked about forgotten birthdays and a father more concerned with rank than with the well-being of his children, a veiled reproach of Cody's stewardship. For Janelle, it made tangible the reality that she was no longer doing battle solely for herself, but for her children's safety and dignity. The shame that fear had tried to usurp was vanquished. And then there was Garrison Brown, whose testimony was not in word but deed. He built a house, made his own money, and would not wait for Cody or the family LLC to give him a handout. His independence was a living blueprint of Janelle's emerging template, self-reliance and intentional fiscal freedom. Gabriel and Garrison, together, delivered a unanimous ruling, not guilty. Their approval rewrote Janelle's departure from rebellion into maternal stewardship. She was not abandoning her family, she was holding on to what remained. Her boys in tow and her RV tightened war chest in hand, Janelle was poised to go from idea to action. The plan was sound, but the outside world beckoned, real estate deals, contractors, and the whimsical nature of the market. The table was laid for her inaugural solo win, one well-deserved, well-conceived, and unbeatable. In part 1, we laid the groundwork. Janelle Brown's departure was not an exit, it was a carefully considered economic retreat. She built a war chest in plain sight, utilized the RV as a savings multiplier and a game of mind strategy, cultivated a secret agreement with Christine, and had the full backing of her children. Her independence was evident in this case. But a plan by itself builds no empire, it has to be implemented. And then comes the most critical component, execution. That is where theory meets reality, where well-laid plans encounter the uncertainty of the real estate market. That is the story of the hunt, the betrayal, and the ultimate victory that would have Janelle no longer as a victim, but as the CEO of her own liberty. With her money at hand and her will steeled, Janelle dove into the fray. But this wasn't a quest for a cozy location to host dinner parties. This was an assignment. She wasn't looking for comfort, she was looking for an investment, a property that would yield revenue and equity, the building blocks of her new empire. Imagine the unseen hours, Janelle in her camper van at midnight, the generator humming softly. Her computer has multiple tabs open: Zillow, Redfin, a messy Excel spreadsheet. Columns all laid out with precision: list price, taxes, insurance, HOA dues, possible rental return, cash-on-cash return. Every property stress tested. What if it's unoccupied? What if there are repairs? What is the cap rate? The possibility of appreciation? This was not a hard decision. It was a corporate-level acquisition strategy being applied to her own life. The timeline illustrates her strategic patience. Summer, fall 2021, RV stocking up phase, money saved with nothing to show except drama on the cameras. Winter 2021, spring 2022, hectic reconning, testing markets in Flagstaff, North Carolina, and Utah. Evaluating each place for proximity to family and price of property. Summer, fall 2022, target purchase, offers issued, negotiations, inspections. Late 2022, early 2023, close, her first standalone asset secured. An 18-month campaign, measured and intentional. One of the first things she would have done is house hacking, buying a multi-unit building, living in one unit, and renting out the rest. Rent covers all or most of the mortgage, and a primary residence becomes a cash-flowing property. Practical, logical, independent, this tactic is up her street. Her house searches were likely for duplexes, triplexes, or single-family houses with room to rent out. This was not a home, the home was a cash cow. But no strategy goes sour. There is deception in every hero's tale, and Janelle's was no different. Summer, fall 2022 saw her brokering property transactions when the market turned around. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates aggressively to combat inflation, putting an end to the decade-long low-rate cycle that had fueled home price growth. Mortgages became more expensive, deals collapsed, and the competitive landscape grew nasty overnight. And then there was a second betrayal: the people she relied on. Good contractors, agents, or advisors. Any error, delay, or misinformation could have derailed her plan. The overlap of market volatility and personal strife tested her will. But Janelle's plan, patience, and perseverance got her through these stumbles. She took her blueprint and translated it into hard assets, theory into fact. From the RV to a complete developed real estate portfolio, her path is a case study in strategic autonomy, demonstrating that well-timed boldness informed by hard planning can tip the balance in your favor, no matter what system is set against you. Then there's the crucible, the point at which every hero must come to grips when theory runs up against reality. Let's say Janelle finds her ideal duplex. She's pre-approved at 4.5% interest, the offer is accepted, and settlement is 60 days away. In the meantime, the Federal Reserve increases rates twice. Her rate fluctuates to 6. The monthly payments on a $400,000 loan go up over $6,000 annually. An investment property once lucrative might now be a break-even property, or worse, a liability. Worldly powers, completely beyond her control, were threatening to destroy all that she had gained. Most of them would panic, back away from the agreement, run for cover, and doubt themselves. The fearful voice, the prosecutor in her head, would cry out, "I told you so. You're in over your head. Get out now." But Janelle was going to prove that the competent peacemaker she had always been could also be a fighter and a strategist. And if that were not enough, betrayal cut closer to home. Insider accounts report that her very first commissioned home under contract had hidden issues: roof leaks, outdated wiring, or even foundation issues. A contractor who was trusted vanished after he collected a deposit, leaving her frantic. To the majority, this would have been a devastating blow. The human betrayal on top of the financial tragedy. The voice of fear was even more strident than ever. "See? You can't do this alone. You need protection. You need Cody." But this was the start of a new Janelle, the CEO kind. The peacemaker personality that came about through years of practicality got militarized. Level-headed, cool, and strategic, she no longer compromised on her own interests. Practical became resourceful. Peacemaker became threat eliminator to her own success and peace of mind. Her initial counterattack, capture of the market. Instead of giving in to the higher interest rate, she utilized it as a bargaining chip. She returned to the seller with good rationale. The market shifted favorably, purchasing power declined, and they could renegotiate or risk relisting in a softening market. The seller, unwilling to lose a buyer, acquiesced to a sizable price reduction or credit, enough to offset the higher rate. Win number 1, she didn't let the market dictate to her, she dictated to the market. Counterattack 2, fighting back against the contractor betrayal. The money was likely spent, but CEO Janelle didn't sit around seething. She reported, warned others, and converted the failure into community protection. She then phoned Christine, who recommended a vetted, reliable contractor. The sister-wife network ceased being abstract. It was a tactical, useful resource. Being in charge wasn't done yet. She took it upon herself. Cosmetic repairs? She learned to do it herself, studying from tutorials, painting, and project management at the side of her children. Electrical and plumbing tasks were farmed out to experts, but she called the shots. In doing so, she wasn't just saving dollars, she was learning skills, becoming confident, and gaining a rich appreciation of her property. Even before the dust had a chance to settle, Janelle had transformed herself from being a prospective client for scams into being the leader of the operation. Janelle survived the betrayals, and not only did she survive, but she actually prospered. She survived a brutal market decline, wrote out a criminal offense, and in doing so solidified her own strength and capability. By the time she closed on her property, she was no longer a survivor, she was a conqueror. The strategy was no longer on paper, the fortress stood constructed, and the cash machine was poised to start rolling. The choice is obvious. By strategy, patience, and sheer strength of will, Janelle made her escape plan work. The evidence is public record, a deed to a property in her name and no one else's. Now we break down the genius of her plan. The house must be a duplex or single-family home with an rentable accessory dwelling unit, a basement apartment or casita. Harry's the strongest argument. She purchases one piece of real estate and thereby resolves all her problems and positions herself for an empire. Suppose she purchased a duplex for $550,000 with a down payment of $110,000 from her RV kitty. She haggles at price and negotiates interest rate, so now her mortgage is maybe $3,100 a month. She lives in Unit A and leases Unit B for around $2,200 a month. Her own rent? Just $900 a month, less than what she'd previously spent on an RV space, less than what Cody and Robin spend on their mansion. But that's not the end of it. She's not just saving cash, her tenant is paying down her debt, building equity, and building wealth. And if she rents the second unit on Airbnb or a short-term rental website, she might be taking home $17,000 a year and having her house effectively for nothing and equity building. This is financial independence in the making, a machine of wealth generating itself, fueled by the plan she built during the RV years and on into. The dots all connect. The RV savings provided the seed money. Her pragmatic peacemaker personality enabled her to weather betrayals and care for the property, and her children motivated every decision. And the result? Absolute, unassailable freedom from the patriarchal bank behind her. The verdict is in, Janelle Brown has won her freedom. But for an empire builder, victory is not the goal, it's the beginning. With one successful property in her portfolio, the challenge is to scale. Janelle has 3 options. 1. The hold, the peacemaker's way, hold the property, use cash flow to build a war chest, and let the market ride up naturally. Slow, steady, safe. Safety first. Low risk, high resilience. The flip, the investor's pathway, hold for 12 to 24 months, refurbish cosmetically, then sell. Use the equity to buy a larger, more rent-producing property. High risk, high gain, best for quick wealth building. The partnership, the CEO's way, keep the duplex, leverage her reputation and skills to arrange a financial partner, and grow her portfolio without surrendering her crown jewel. Shared risk, quick growth, greatest leverage, the greatest potential for long-term empire building. The court has presented the options. Now the power shifts to you, the jury, the TLC Sister Wives Real News community. From the LLC prison to the freedom of her first independent asset, you've seen the evidence, heard the testimony, and understood the stakes. It's time to vote. What does Janelle do next? Make your choice in the comments, tell us why you voted the way you did, and join the conversation. Are you a conservative juror voting for stability? A radical juror fighting for aggressive expansion? Or a strategic juror using partnership and cooperation? The future of the blueprint is yours to decide. Subscribe, join in, and have your say.